Hello again, we're the Partially Paleo Parkers, and today we're going to be making perfectly paleo pumpkin bread.
Yeah, and today is actually a 100% paleo recipe, so everything we use today would be considered okay if you're doing a full paleo diet.
So this is an almond flour based recipe. So the first thing you're going to need is 1 cup of almond flour. I highly suggest that you look for it in bulk. It costs about half in bulk what it would normally cost in bags. The main sweetener is honey, but we'll also be using a little bit of stevia. Obviously the pumpkin is pretty important for pumpkin bread. We're using canned pumpkin because I'm terrified of roasting a pumpkin, but if you want to use your own roasted pumpkin, I'm sure that would make it even better. We have cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, all your normal pumpkin spices, along with baking soda, salt, and 3 delicious farm fresh eggs. And that's about it. We'll be using a petite loaf pan. If you use anything bigger, you'll probably want to double the recipe. And we'll be making this entire thing.
Okay, we're back here, and this is our food processor. Nothing super fancy, just a simple enough food processor. First thing we're going to add is all the dry ingredients, starting with our almond flour. So we're just going to add all, I'm getting a little messy there, all that in. Then we're going to go with a little bit of cloves. Dump that in. Going to have some cinnamon here. Nutmeg. Baking soda. I always get baking soda and baking powder confused. Thankfully it's written on the package when I pull it out and I can read. So then we're going to go with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, but just a rough measurement. It's going to be just like 3/4 twists or so of our salt dispenser. And then we're going to give this a quick mix of itself. Blend all those dry ingredients up. Sorry about any loud noise. See how that works there? We got this safety conscious food processor that you can't, if you have the bottom portion locked and electricity engaged, you can't undo it until you have the top disengaged. So it's kind of fancy, sometimes annoying. But so for our eggs, like we've mentioned before, we get our eggs actually from my family who have their own chickens. So they're farm fresh eggs. And one thing, if you don't know, you might know this. One way that we grew up testing eggs to see if they're good, rotten, if there's anything like that, is to get just a glass of water, nice cold water from the tap, nothing fancy, and drop your egg in there. And if it sinks, it's good, means it's not rotten. You might have some air bubbles in there forming on one end or the other. That end might pop up a little bit, but as long as the whole egg sinks, you're going to be okay using it. So we want to test all of our eggs real quick. It's good. Let's see here. And good. We just got these yesterday, so they're probably no more than 24 to 48 hours old. So they're probably going to be fine. So that's one way to test farm fresh eggs, or any eggs really. If you're not sure about the ones from the store, you can always do that. Just a little quick method that we always like to use. Okay, so now we have our dry ingredients put together, and we need to add our pumpkin, our sweetener, and our eggs. So the first thing I'm going to do is add our half a cup of pumpkin. And I know we mentioned this earlier, but we didn't roast our own pumpkin for this, but this is 100% pumpkin. There's no additives or any extra processing process to this other than just a roasted pumpkin meat. So get that added in there. Then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to add 3 eggs. Alright, here's 1. Got that one a little smack hard. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. 36. 37. 38. 39. 40. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46. 47. 48. 49. 50. 51. 52. 53. 54. 55. 56. 57. 58. 59. 60. 61. 62. 63. 64. 65. 66. 67. 68. 69. 70. 71. 72. 73. 74. 75. 76. 77. 78. 79. 80. 81. 82. 83. 84. 85. 86. 87. 88. 89. 90. 91. 92. 93. 94. 95. 96. 97. 98. 99. 100. 101. 102. 103. 104. 105. 106. 107. 108. 109. 110. 111. 112. 113. 114. 115. 116. 117. 118. 3. Alrighty.
And we're gonna
Elaine's
add 2 tablespoons of honey. And once again, we love our state, so we use very specifically Colorado honey, raw, unfiltered. It just tastes better. It's delicious. 2 tablespoons of that, and you know, honey, it's notoriously sticky. Can be difficult to deal with. Try and make sure we don't make too big of a mess. Can you give me the 1/4 teaspoon? Alright. Try and get all that goodness. Wash my hands. So, I'm going to use my finger. Alright. I'm going to cut a lot of this out.
This part right here.
Yeah. Alright. Finally, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of liquid stevia. I don't always add all of it because I think stevia has a little bit of an aftertaste. So just with the honey, I think it's pretty sweet, so I don't always bother adding quite a whole 1/4 teaspoon. Alright, then we're going to get this all nice and blended up, and we'll be ready to put it in the pan. Obviously, you want to make sure that you give the sides a good scrape about halfway through. Make sure you get all that flour incorporated. You don't want any dry clumps in your bread. When you're happy with that, we'll prepare our loaf pan and set
Okay, so we've prepped our little loaf pan with just a little bit of light coating of olive oil. Now we have our mixture here, our batter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this out. If you have it depends on what kind of food processor you have, how that'll work for you. Ours, I like to take it off and pour it out of it. When we do a double batch, we have to usually ladle it out because it's too full, because it starts pouring out the center portion here. But a single batch is easy enough. Just want to make sure we get all the good batter that we can. There, don't want to waste too much. There we go. And then we're going to take this and just pour it in there. Make sure it gets in there nice and even. Maybe a slight mound in the middle. It's really up to you. That's how I like to do it.
It's going to be pretty full because it's not like yeast bread or a bread with all-purpose flour in it where it won't rise quite as well. So it does have baking soda, so it will rise, but not necessarily as much as another quick bread might.
That's right. Don't be deceived. It will rise. It will rise. So do be aware of that. You don't want to fill it to the brim, because then you'll have it coming out of the top. But it's not. This is really just about the perfect size batch right here. And then
smooth it out, make it look pretty.
Yeah. All nice and delicious. Then we have our oven set, preheated at, I should say, 350 degrees. And you're going to take this little pan and pop it in the oven for about 35 minutes. Alright, so this is our final product here. we've let it cool for a while. I believe the recipe calls for cooling for an hour, so you can take it out, let it cool on a wire rack for about an hour if you want to. Grease the pan. We did go around it just a little bit with a butter knife real quick just to make sure. A little bit of split there on the bottom, but nothing major. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. So then we're going to take a bread knife here. Give it a little slice. So you can see what the inside looks like there.
Really good color and consistency. It's very moist. Very, very moist.
Yep.
And it's even more tasty.
So you like a little bit of butter, cream cheese, whatever you like on that. Ooh.
Coffee. Coffee.
And have it with a cup of coffee. It's delicious. Absolutely.
Is coffee paleo?
Well, I don't know, actually. I've never thought about it because nothing in the world would make me stop drinking coffee. So, even if it gave me cancer, I'd probably still drink coffee. But, no, I hope you enjoyed this video. We've had fun making this bread. And,
we hope you have fun too.